Heyyoo! So I'm making an animated short film on my own. Join me in this video as I walk through my script making process. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Candace, aka Candy Lion, and I am a production professional who works in the animation industry by day, and I'm a story artist and comic artist by night. So without further ado, let's dig in! Okay, look y'all, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I am not a professional writer. I do not professionally write scripts or anything like that. There's a lot of people who are way smarter than I with formal process videos that are able to walk you through what exactly goes into telling a good story and all of that. That is not me. That is not what I'm here to do. I'm just walking you through how I decided to approach the script writing process for my short film. So I don't want to hear people being like, oh my gosh, that's not what you do, or like, this is the incorrect thing. I don't want to hear any of that. Look, I'm just someone who had the audacity to go ahead and make their own project. Okay, so let's start with the idea. You gotta brainstorm and write down any idea that you have. It doesn't matter if it's cool or if it's groundbreaking or if it's the most amazing thing on the planet. It doesn't matter, you just have to get the ideas out there. I like to call this like a brain dump, where I'm literally just like boop, 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 on like just different ideas of what this short could be. I feel like sometimes people get stuck solely on the idea phase just because they're making it kind of bigger than it really needs to be. I think ultimately the question that you need to ask is like, what do you want to see on the screen? So in my case, I knew that I wanted to make a short about grief. But not the boohoo kind of crying side of grief, the side of grief that nobody talks about. Throughout my process, there's been so many iterations on what this short could look like that it probably looks a little bit crazy as I like scroll through my different like versions of the short. So my short originally started discussing how people engage with grief and how they engage with talking about grief with someone who is grieving, which was not at all. It's morphed into what it is now, which is about someone navigating grief and how that contrasts with what people think grieving should look like. So in the idea phase, it's totally okay if the idea is not concise or super specific yet, because it's just supposed to be an idea. Though while you're in the idea generation phase, I would encourage you to consider how long you want this short to be. I think specifically for animated shorts, the kind of great length is anywhere between 1 and 5 minutes. The shorter it is, the more likely it is that it's gonna get done. So I really encourage you to keep it shorter. Mine will end up being anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how I decide to milk the emotions and really like sell the visual representation of grief. But for the most part, I think 1 to 5 minutes is a good length for an animated short, because again, you want this to be something that is able to be completed. Okay, so once you've got the idea, let's get into the script writing process. I just have to say that the script writing process is the most important part of this film. It is the backbone of the film, and anyone who says otherwise has no idea what they're talking about. You need to really spend a lot of time really thinking about what you want this film to be about. Now for me, everything starts with character. Who are they? What is their experience? What do they want? And what is their problem? Make me care about your character. If I don't care about your character, I'm not going to care about your short film. When I look back on my earliest drafts of the script, my weakest point was always the script. Now, to be fair, I didn't actually get that far. I only got to the storyboarding process, so I can't really say that like, oh, it was the weakest point. It's because I didn't actually get past that point. But I didn't get past that point because the script was weak. I left Ava, who is my main character, super vague. She was nondescript. And I think initially I kept it vague because I thought for whatever reason that would make it easier to like complete, but that ended up being the complete opposite. I left Ava super vague and instead focused on her experience with the friends, because in this iteration of the short, it was more so about how people are engaging with talking about grief. And so I was focusing more on that experience of that and less about who Ava was as a character. However, as I kept trying to really get out emotion, the emotion was never landing because I never cared about Ava. I personally did not care about why this mattered to Ava or why did I care that her friends were talking in this way. None of it mattered because I didn't actually know who Ava was as a character. I'd say what I think is stronger in my current iteration of the short and my final iteration, because I gotta get this thing done. In this version, I have more context as to who is Ava and what is her relationship with her sister. Because I set up more about what her sister meant to her, when it's revealed what she lost and the emotions that she's grappling with, we have a place and a foundation to really sit in, which makes it more emotional. So in this version, it's like I really didn't even add that much to Ava. Like, it's not like I'm like, these are all of her personality traits or anything like that. Like, I did give her some traits, but like for the most part, I just gave some more context on who she was and like what is her issue, like what is she dealing with, and what is her relationship with her sister. When you see that they had a really good relationship, that makes you emotional because she's grieving the loss of someone that she cared about so deeply. That is what the difference is. And I was just a fool who didn't do that the first time. But that's okay because we're learning. So after I solidified the characters, aka Ava, I moved on to structure. So there's a lot of advice out there on structure and how you can go about structuring your short film or your TV series or your feature movie or whatever it is. Like I said before, I am not a professional. So this is what I did for structuring my short film. So some people will say that shorts should be structured like a joke with a setup and a payoff. Others will say to make a short more straightforward using the 3-act structure. Some may even say to use the Dan Harmon story circle. What it looks like may vary, and what it depends upon is truly your own preference. What matters is what's your character, what's their goal, and what's the problem or conflict that's keeping them in the way of getting their goal. So in my case, Ava was a grieving girl who is missing her sister on her sister's death anniversary. So she just wanted to celebrate in a way that felt natural and organic to her. The problem? Externally, voices are telling her that the way in which she is grieving is wrong. Inwardly, she's dealing with a complicated layer of grief and dealing with insecurities that she didn't love her sister enough. This all goes back to character because character drives everything. I encourage you, as you're writing your own short or making your own story, to really dive in and ask, what does this character want? What are they trying to do? It doesn't even have to be overly complex or anything like that. So after I decided generally on what structure I wanted, I moved on to story beats. Beats are basically when things happen in the story, but they're specifically when things change, which sounds super vague, but that's kind of like the way I think about it. Something super helpful that I learned is that you want each of your beats to be more of a but or a therefore, not necessarily an and. Throwing in some and are okay, but you really want there to be a rhythm to things changing because that is what makes it a page turner. That's what keeps people interested in continuing to watch. So something I briefly just want to throw in is talking about the information that you drop in shorts. So in a short film, you have a very limited amount of time to give the viewers information. Something you have to constantly ask yourself is, why did this scene make it in and not something else? Feature films have the time and space for reflection. Short films do not. So if you still want to have a scene that is considered slow, that's totally fine, but you need to understand what place it has in the story. So in my short, there is a moment where Ava is going to a donut shop to snag some donuts. On the surface, it can probably be interpreted as just a means of Ava getting some comfort food. It's a pretty harsh day, so this is food that will just make her feel good. But what is revealed about the donut shop is actually that Ava and Oleta, her sister, they actually frequented the donut shop often. What I love specifically about the donut shop scene is that this is a moment for Ava to really just enjoy being here and to remember all of the fond memories and times that she's had with her sister, But the dialogue in that scene and the exchange that she has with one of the workers there, it just kind of furthers the core of the story, where Ava is being told that her wanting to be here is essentially not normal, especially after the loss of her sister. So there's like the idea that a place that was once super comfortable and super fun and so full of life for her is part of something that is making her feel really insecure. That I think is pretty powerful. So moving on, I want to talk about hooks real quick. So a hook usually means that it is the first scene that is drawing in the viewer and it's keeping them invested in wanting to go forward with the story. So in the context of a short film though, I kind of feel like it might be more helpful to think of a hook as something that makes your short film memorable. In my film, I have it currently opening in a therapist's office. And one of the first things you're asking is, why is this person in therapy? Now granted, the order of this might change once I start storyboarding. I might end up moving some things around, but on the whole, the plan is for this to start in a therapist's office. Okay, so last script writing part of the process thing for me. Starting the scene as late as possible. I think everyone talks about this because it cannot be stated enough. Start it as late as possible. In my earlier drafts, I was describing every little moment that happened to the character. It was incredibly boring. No one wanted to watch my character get up, walk across, turn off the freaking filter. I'm just making this up. So in my earlier draft, I stepped out every single moment and it was not needed. For whatever reason, I felt the need to show the character waking up, classic rookie mistake, walking through and kind of getting ready, and then she's driving over to the mountaintop, and then once they get to the mountaintop, that's where the thing begins. No. What I should have done if I was going through with that previous iteration of the movie should have just been hey, should we have our main character? They're up in the mountaintop. What are they in the mountaintop for? We don't know. But that's the point. It's you just gotta get straight to the action. So in this latest iteration of my short film, I get to the point right away. You immediately find out this main character is in therapy. What are they in therapy for? Grief. What has grieving been looking like for them today? And then she shows you exactly what that's looked like. Everything has kind of just been okay, we're going. At the end of the day, y'all, just write. Forget all the rules, forget all the tips and whatever people say. Honestly, you just gotta brain dump it. Just let it out. Do your first rough draft. It's gonna be garbage. And when I say garbage, I don't mean literally I'm not calling it bad. It's just this is not going to be what it's going to end up like. So just get it out your system anyway. Ease up the pressure on yourself and just let it out. Okay, so bonus. Okay, so let's talk about feedback real quick. Throughout this process, I got so much feedback. How I would go about this is I would export my script as a PDF and then I would send it over to a couple of trusted accountability partner friends that I had that would go look it over and then they would give me their thoughts. The thing is, I trust these people. These aren't just randos or strangers. These were people and professionals that I've either worked with in the industry or just we're just friends. I don't know. And I genuinely trust their feedback. So when I was asking for feedback, I did not want any fluff. I was give it to me straight. If this sucks, tell me. Is this an emotional thing? Did this make you cry at any point? I want to know so I could make this better. And because I trust these people and their feedback honestly made my story better. And it got me to the iteration that it is today. I highly, highly, highly encourage you that if you have someone that you truly trust for brutally honest feedback, send it to them. Send them your script. Be super vulnerable. It's going to be really scary at first and you're going to be oh my gosh, I want to give you all the caveats. Don't give them caveats. Just let them read it. Because honestly, people don't care about caveats. At the end of the day, it's either it's good or it's not. And if you want it to get good, get feedback. So bonus thing number 2, line numbers. Super silly. Super dumb. Line numbers, y'all. Don't do what I did. So in my first iteration of the short film, I went ahead and just wrote it out. And then when I went to go storyboard and add scratch audio, I was just recording the lines, but when I went to save the lines that I recorded, I didn't have a line number for reference. So instead, I ended up just typing out like the first few like words of the line. It got so confusing so quick. And like also, mind you, this is coming from someone who literally is in like a professional in the industry. I know how the script writing and story and editing process goes. I've been in the rooms, so it's like I fully understand that line numbers are important, and for whatever reason my brain was like, I don't gotta do that. And it's like, girl, why? Why did you do this? So learn from me. In this current iteration of my script, I added line numbers. They are small but mighty, and they will save you in the end when you go to record. Okay, last bonus thing. Let's just get a little technical for a second. And when I say technical, I mean I'm talking about programs. I'm just gonna keep it so for real, guys. I don't think your program that you use matters. Like, maybe if you're like, want to professionally, if you want to like professionally get into writing, right? Like, so you're trying to be a screenwriter or a novelist or like whatever, then I'm sure you probably want to get like one of the bougie programs like Final Draft, or like I use Scrivener. I don't know if that's considered bougie. Whatever it is, for your short film, I don't think it matters. Like, truly use Google Docs, use Notepad for all I care. All that matters is that you just have a place where everything is written down. I think that there are definitely some programs that make it easier. So like if you have Final Draft, for example, that's exactly what it's for. It's for screenwriting. So it's going to make it easier to use, but I would never let money or the purchasing of a program dictate what you can do. I would say just find a way around it. Use Google Doc. Like, Google Doc is free, guys. Just use it. So yeah, that's my script process for my short film. And the next video in this series will be on storyboarding. So be sure to check it out. Alrighty, that's all. Okay, bye!